Good morning, guys. Tony Maritato here. I want to answer a question that came in through the Uncaged Clinicians group. Now, this question wasn't directed at me, but it's a great question, great series of questions, and I think it'll help a lot of people. So this is from an individual who has been mobile only, cash-based. They're joining Medicare as a contracted provider. The first question is, how do I go about billing the secondary if I'm not contracted with any other insurance companies beside Medicare? Does the patient pay, or do I submit a claim on the patient's behalf as an out-of-network provider? So when we're talking about secondary to Medicare, Medicare Part B, there's two scenarios. One is the secondary insurance is either a supplemental or a Medigap. Those two words can be interchangeable. That's the most common scenario. Now, a supplemental plan is only sold to Medicare beneficiaries. It's not a standalone policy. If it is a traditional supplemental or Medigap, you do not need to individually contract with that secondary plan. The claim will process by Medicare as the primary, and Medicare will auto-forward the claim to the secondary, which is the supplemental or the Medigap. On occasion, the secondary insurance is not a supplemental or Medigap. It is a standalone policy. The best example is when your patient has Medicare Part B, but the patient's spouse has insurance through an employer, and they're using that insurance as a standalone policy, as a secondary for your patient. In that case, you may need to contract with that third-party payer if you want to get paid as in-network. If there are no out-of-network coverage and you're not contracted, the secondary won't pay. You would have to submit a paper claim or an electronic claim separately to that secondary, because it's not a supplemental or a Medigap plan. It's a standalone policy. But that, in a year, I probably get that once, maybe twice. Rarely does that come into play. It's almost always a supplemental or a Medigap in the secondary, which means you do not have to individually contract. Your second question, in the case of Medicare replacement or Advantage plans, am I required to accept these if I'm contracted with Medicare? No, you're not. You're not required. So Medicare Advantage is actually Medicare Part C. You're not required to work with those, accept those. If you are a contracted Medicare Part B provider and you do choose to treat a Medicare beneficiary who has a Medicare Advantage plan, if the plan offers out-of-network coverage, you are limited to what the plan allows as what you're allowed to collect in total. That includes the patient's responsibility and what the insurance pays. If the Medicare Advantage does not have out-of-network coverage, you are allowed to charge your full cash rate or your prompt pay discount. So just be aware, to answer your question, no, you are not required to accept Medicare Advantage referrals. And the third question, what are the best resources out there to learn how to bill Medicare? Of course, I have my course, Zero to Paid Medicare Billing, but if you don't go that route, the Medicare MAC for your territory or state is going to have resources available online. I've got this YouTube channel, which has a ton of information and free answers to common questions. I can tell you that, there's a lot of support out there. Of course, the Facebook group, if you want to join my Facebook group, Medicare Billing for Mostly Cash-Based PTOT SLP, you're welcome to it. But I would say the main thing is take control, start educating yourself. You're asking the questions right now. These are great questions. And if anything else comes up, just reach out. Let me know. There's a lot of people who have been in your shoes, and they're more than happy to help. Thanks for asking.